For this last bonus video for step 6, it's kind of going to be part of our extension activity because we're dealing with piecewise functions now that are not all composed of linear pieces. We're going to have some quadratic pieces and some rational pieces, some square root pieces, some absolute value pieces, and that's not something we've completely studied just yet. We also haven't studied transformations of functions that make this module in Delta Math an easier module to complete. But I wanted to show you this part because it's really nice how Delta has some animation abilities to really put each piece of this piecewise function on the graph. So let's try this one together. The first part is negative x. So looking at our 6 choices here, we know that's a line, a linear function, with a negative slope, which would look like this. I also know that the y-intercept of this line is 0, so I like that it's at 0. So I'm going to say done. I don't need to move it. Now I need to drag these blue arrows so that I only have this part of the line from the domain 0 to 4, including 0. So I'm going to drag this part in because I want it to go from 0, and I'll drag this side in to 4. Notice it's strictly less than 4, so I need to change that dot to an open dot. And then I'll say done. So I have the first part of my piecewise function graphed. This next part is a quadratic. And if I look at my 6 answer choices here, I know that this is the quadratic function, the parent function. So I'm going to plot it. I need to drag the vertex. This is in vertex form. Again, we haven't studied that yet. We won't get to that part until Unit 3. But I know that it goes 5 units to the right and 4 units up. Don't worry if you didn't know that. It's okay. That's how the transformation works. I've got the function where I want it, so I'm going to say done. Now I just need to put the restrictions on it. I want this to go everywhere x is greater than 4. So you can see this is 4. I want it to go from here on forever. So I need to bring this side in till 4. It should be right here. See how the dotted line goes through 4? It includes 4, so I leave it as a closed dot and say finished. Now be careful, you're going to be tempted to hit this red button. That'll make your work start over. You actually want to go down to submit answer if you try this module for some above and beyond work, and you'll see that we have it correct. And it goes through all the parts on how to do it step by step till we get to our final answer. Let's try one more. Here I have an absolute value piece, and I also have a linear piece. And you can do them in any order. Let's start with the linear piece. This is the part that everybody should know how to do. This will be on your quiz. We want a linear piece, which means one of these 3 options. The slope is 1, so I want this line to start with. I want my y-intercept to be -7, so I'm going to translate this down 7 units. And I'll say done. But I only want this line when x is strictly greater than 3. So I'm going to drag and erase it until I get to 3. And I'll put an open dot because I only want the line right after 3 on to infinity. Then I'll say done. Now I'm ready to do the absolute value part. This part you may be able to do successfully, except you probably haven't learned about these transformations again yet, because that's later on, I think around step 15. But it is an absolute value function, so we'll put it on the graph. I know from learning transformations that this means it goes 2 to the left and down 4. So 2 to the left and down 4. This number outside the function always controls vertical translation. The number inside the function, and the function here is absolute value, controls horizontal translation, and it's always the opposite of what you'd think. So if it's a +2, it goes left 2, and if it's a -2, it goes right 2. Again, we'll do more of that in step 15 or 16 later on in the year. I've got my absolute value graphed. I want this to be everywhere x is less than or equal to 3. So I need to drag this and erase all the parts that are bigger than 3. Again, I'm not going to hit this button. I'm going to hit submit my answer, and we have it correct.